Episode 11 of the IQ podcast. This is going to be a fun one, I think. We're missing Eat Your Meats today. So we got OG Junkyard filling in. And you guys all know Highly and Pickles and Snazzy Bastard from previous episodes. I'm the Sunny Machine. OG Junkyard, why don't you give us a quick introduction of yourself? Tell us what you stream and maybe whatever relevant history you've got that people should know.
Okay. So I'm OG Junkyard. I have been streaming for approximately 3 years, but the first time I ever streamed was back in 2009. And my first stream was 75 hours long.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Is that even legal?
Wow.
It was back in the day. But these days I stream a lot of just a lot of games. I used to stream a lot of Dark Souls no-hit runs in particular, and done Dark Souls and Soulsborne tournaments for that community. Yeah, much chiller these days, and just laid back video games, variety, a lot of times.
Cool. I love that no-hit Dark Souls qualifies as chiller. Then.
So today's topic, we're going to be discussing putting on a show versus just being live. So, and I actually want to kind of break this up into two sections for us to talk about. The first thing I want to do is kind of just ask you guys your approach to at least thinking about your own stream for this, if it's more of a show or if you just feel like you're being live. I don't really... I think there's room. I should start with, I think there's room for both on Twitch. And I don't think... I do think that there are benefits. There are pros and cons, basically, to the decision that you're making if you decide to put on a show or if you're deciding to just be live. They both kind of have their own difficulties and advantages. So let's start with OG Junkyard, since you're our guest. Tell us your approach to being live. Do you feel like you're more of a show, or are you just being live?
I think it's a little bit of both. What I have done in the past was more show quality or show like, because I was trying to take my viewers on a journey of, like, whenever I was doing a lot of Dark Souls no hit stuff, it was like, okay, we're practicing, or we're trying to get the run. We're looking at problem areas, and each stream kind of had a little bit of a focus in that regard. And so there was like improvement aspects and whatnot. And whenever I was doing Dark Souls or Soulsborne tournaments, that was definitely like a show. But these days, because we're playing a lot more games that I haven't played before, it's casualer. It's like less of putting on a show and more of a continuation, but not taking it too seriously, not saying, oh, we've got to do X, Y, and Z today, but just as things happens.
Okay. Pickles, let's go to you. How do you feel about what you're doing? Are you a show, or are you just being live?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not just being live.
That's very honest, at least. Yeah.
Well, because obviously when I turn on the camera, I'm not the same person I am if I turned off the camera, right? Like when I hit the live button, I know I'm trying to do something that like is at least enjoyable for people to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So like in a sense I put on a show, but it feels very casual to me to do. Like,
I think if we dig deeper, you're gonna see more show in what you're doing than...
Yeah, just a casual feeling approach to a show. I do put a lot of effort into it. I have a lot of stuff that I make sure is ready and active before we go, so that people can do stuff and interact with the stream, all of that. But tonally, I keep it very light, fun.
I would
like
say
we're just hanging out, you know.
Yeah, there are definitely elements on your stream that are a part of the show. And we can kind of break that stuff down. But I want to move to Snazzy. This is just sort of a shorter section. So, Snazzy, what's your approach to this? Do you feel like your stream is the show or the I'm just being live?
It's both, and also very much depends on my mood. At I'm of the opinion that you can't not put on a show. There's very few ways to just be live.
Mm,
So like it's a question of how much show do you want to put on.
okay.
So for me personally, it's like when I'm playing a new game, something I haven't played before, or, a first playthrough, blind playthrough, whatever you want to call it. Like obviously, there's going to be a little more exaggerating involved. There's going to be engaging the audience in a way I haven't necessarily engaged before. Whereas if I'm just running my 10th attempt on Deathless Sekiro, it's going to be a lot more chill. We're going to be shooting the breeze. Same thing with crafting, like right. That's a lot more time for being talking and just being live versus putting on an entertainment product, as it were. So
This is interesting already because I feel like there's more show than you think you're giving yourself credit for.
oh, there's show, but like I said, I think it takes
Let's
it
define the
takes show
difference.
to even to not be a show, basically, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'll answer the question as well, even though I haven't streamed on my channel a long time. But the stream I was doing on the Sunny Machine was, in my mind, show. Even if I was just playing video games or something, it was all about show, which included alerts, like trying to make my alerts something special, having these special sections of my stream. I used to do these weird performances with music and like visual effects, and it was all very much about that show. It was something that I couldn't just be live and do. So from my perspective, I was very much about the show. But I've also had streams in the past where I felt like I'm just being live. So I kind of get both perspectives. So let's try to define for people who are listening what these two things kind of mean, like, and drill down into this more. Does anybody have a good definition for what just being live looks like?
Yeah, not
sort
talking
of.
to chat.
You all have an answer. Okay, let's
kind of
go with
being
Pickles.
there. Just it's you're quiet. You're not talking. You're not interacting with anybody. You're just the camera is on, and you're
Okay.
just doing something. Like nothing is happening. It's just there.
You're just playing a game,
Yeah,
and
like literally just playing a game.
and the only thing you're doing is reacting to chat, basically.
Not even that.
Well, I mean, I would think
Not even that.
I would think that there's probably a level of. So that's a very negative way of defining just being live. Although,
When the cam is on, but the streamer is off.
do you guys agree?
I would. That is like a kind of an extreme case in my opinion. And what I think of as just being live is if you don't have like an intent for that stream, like the way it kind of pops in my mind is like whenever a streamer is on has like going to like TwitchCon or something, and they're doing a short stream, like 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, and they're just like streaming from the hotel room, and they're kind of like checking in and saying like, hey, we're just having a conversation.
Okay, so would you guys define the show kind of the opposite way then, like highly planned, very organized, intent? There's a lot of intent behind what's going on.
Yep, I would.
I think a show requires intent. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how highly planned it needs to be because sometimes improvisational shows.
I was gonna say, even if your intent is not to have an intent in a way, if your intent is not to have a direction necessarily, but just kind of be there and do stuff, you're still intending to do that, right? That's still the plan. Right?
I feel like there's people that think they're putting on a show, and they're not, and like just doing cosplay or something, or I'm wearing a weird hat, a silly hat, or I put a costume on, whatever it is, that they're like, that's the show. But then they're live, they're just in the costume and they're just being live after that. So I feel like for it to actually be a show, there has to be a little more than just dress up or even like a character. I feel like isn't quite a show. It can miss the mark a lot to just like put a costume on and try to play a character while you're live, and maybe you feel like you're putting on a show, but it's bombing. I don't know. Or it's just so low effort. I've seen a lot of this too with alerts or like a raid response video or something where that's what makes them feel like they're putting on a show. And it's just so low effort and on repeat that it's not really a show. It's just kind of like you think it's cool and you like it, which is very different from actually being entertaining.
Yeah.
So there's merits in I guess you get some brownie points for the attempt, but if you're not utilizing and putting twists and creating value outside of the actual performance, the show isn't really happening, I guess, and you're just kind of phoning it in. And now you're just being live in a costume, or you're just being live with a raid alert video or something. So I think balancing these things is kind of important and figuring out what you want to do, because I think there's actually probably a positive way to just be live, like a good way to just be live. And the show is like the streamer sitting in front of the camera, hanging out with chat, and they're really smart or really informative, or they can be very helpful. And the show, the value of that isn't that it's like entertainment as much as it's informative or something, like, or you just like hanging out with the person, like a personality streamer. I do think there's room to make I'm just live. It's just me while on camera and hanging out and stuff. A stream work like that. But I'm not sure that everybody can do it. And I'm not sure that it's what will grow a stream these days. I feel like those streamers already have like an established audience, and like the crowd that they gather while they're live is part of the reason why they still grow. If they were starting with no one, they might not, their stream may never have grown at all. If today they turned it on and it was just them in front of a camera being live.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. What do you guys think it's possible? I mean, I don't want to say anything's impossible, but do you think it's likely for a stream for someone to just turn on their stream? I'm just playing video games. I'm just being live, and for them to grow.
I would say no, but I also I had like a few thoughts on what you had said as well.
Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
I want to call out like two streamers in particular that I think are examples.
Only name drop if it's positive. Generalize
Yes.
if it's negative. That's the
Rule
rule.
around here.
The two streamers I want to bring up is Ludwig and Dr. K.
Okay.
Ludwig I bring up because Ludwig is whenever I first popped into that stream, I thought it was like a kind of just live, and why does this person have like 10,000 people watching them?
Okay.
And then I realized like, no, there's like intention that content is actually with intent to distribute that onto other platforms.
YouTube mostly.
Yeah, YouTube mostly. And then with Dr. K, that content feels kind of like I'm just live, but there is a mission and there is a specificity to what Dr. K is producing that I think somebody like Dr. K could get away with. I don't want to say phoning it in, but just going live where somebody who's just playing video games couldn't.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Dr. K is more interesting because the show is almost pre-established a bit for him because he's a field expert. Because like the value is that his education, his background, his career, he brings a general value to his stream that is beyond dude playing video games, or anyone playing video games. So you can't look at him as just being live, because his stream exists because he has like a bunch of medical education, and his whole entire background sets him up to do the content. So this is a good way to kind of make sure we define things properly. Where it is a show. That's a show. You're watching that because there's a value there already. So really, the show is maybe a good way to define excess value of the stream, or like created value of the stream. Beyond what I mean by excess value is that it's beyond person play video game, or person live on camera. Like there's like a deeper value to the actual stream itself. The show, the entertainment value, the educational value is more obvious and more readily attainable by the viewer, right? So this is actually something I've been talking about a lot with people, is trying to figure out how do you discover what kind of value your stream can provide. Where is the value in who you are as a streamer when you go live? I mean, we can watch people play video games on YouTube. Like, what's the point of coming to your stream to do it? And a lot of people will think, well, I have a really good personality, or I'm really funny, or whatever. And they're not.
Few people are naturally that way.
Yeah.
I think personally, like the thing is, I think anybody who's growing in the sort of the just being live sort of aspect isn't really just being live though. It's kind of like what Junkie said. There's a plan to it, right? It's the illusion of just being live. It's the illusion that you're just sitting on your couch playing video games and people just happen to be watching you. Because let's face it, when you're by yourself, right, truly by yourself playing video games, you're awkward. You make weird noises. You pick your nose. You shout things at the screen you wouldn't say to another person nearby. Like, there's no way anybody is like naturally that like entertaining. Like you're always toning it either up or down, right? I think very few people exist in this world who could literally just be entertaining by sitting there and playing a video game with no forethought of what the show is going to be. Like, I think the show has to be a part of it. And if you really are just sitting there, literally on your couch picking your nose playing a video game, no one's going to watch that. Like, 3 weirdos are going to watch that, and that's it. That's your crowd, right?
If you're lucky.
if they're even watching, right? They're lurking.
Yeah, they're looking for something. Yeah.
I want to kind of ask a different question. Do you view producing a show versus being live kind of like the forgive maybe the crude analogy, but it's like porn. If you know it, you see it, or like if you've seen it, you know what it is, kind of thing.
I think it should be that obvious. Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be that straightforward as like, yeah, this is what that is.
Well, like if I click on a stream and like I don't see the streamer talk for like 2 minutes, which is a long time to not talk.
Yeah, that's
then
forever.
I know that like this is just them being live, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a long time if you have an audience. It's not a long time if you're just by yourself playing a video game, right? Because you can go
your nose. Exactly.
You can go an hour and not say a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Just make grunting noises or whatever, like whatever it is that you do. So it's like,
yeah, this is a part of where a lot of newer streamers will either overdo it or underdo it, where like they won't talk forever or they'll talk way too much. And like there's a danger in overproducing and underproducing, which is something we're going to get into later. But really what we're hitting right now is like being talkative while you're on stream. You have to kind of balance not talking and talking too much. If you have this, I don't know, general just attitude where you're getting zoned out in the game and you're waiting for chat, like relying on chat to like wake you up out of that stupor of I'm playing a video game, then that's a really bad place to be. And then there's okay, I know I have to avoid that, so I just don't shut up. And there's no breaks. Was that what you do, Snazzy? You don't shut up?
I have motor mouth. It's a real condition.
I don't think that's necessarily the case with you, Snazzy.
Yeah, I was
because,
gonna disagree
like,
too.
during cutscenes, you don't talk over them, and during intense points of gameplay, you don't talk during
I
those.
sometimes do. I've caught myself doing it though. I'm trying to get better
Yeah,
at it.
but
But
it's like
the
it's a
ability
commentary, but you stop. You know,
being able to catch yourself means you're paying enough attention. It's the people who are paying zero attention and like the cutscene comes on, or they're starting a blind playthrough of Bloodborne and the title screen comes on, and they're like, "Oh man, I was at the grocery store and there was this lady," and it's just like, Bloodborne, dude. You're just starting Bloodborne. The intro is going, and you're over here, you somewhere else. Like you're not. It's like if you try to show someone I've had this experience a bunch of times. You try to show someone like a movie or a show you really like, and you sit down to watch it, and then they're just like talking and texting and doing other things, and you're like, you don't have 10 minutes to like check this thing out that I'm trying to like. A movie or a show is an immersive thing. You're not even like putting your toes in the water here. So I think there's like a balance that you have to find between the show, the game itself is actually a part of the show. And I think a lot of streamers forget that they're not the only thing that makes the stream why people are watching it. People are there because they want to have this balance between you and what you're doing. And if you're like off somewhere else talking about other things that have nothing to do with the like 90% of what's happening on the screen, it can be really hard for people to connect with that. If you want to sit there and talk about what happened at the grocery store, you go to a full cam and you don't put the game on. So balancing your presence, your talkativeness, with what you're doing, like the game or the video or whatever if you're React watching or something, YouTube videos, you got to balance what the presentation is. And so there is kind of like a I'm just live attitude you can take, while also making sure there's like room for what the stream is, and that can be the show itself. There doesn't have to be this I'm in a costume. I'm VTubing and I'm always using a voice effect or making weird noises or whatever it is. I think a lot of streamers have a hard time balancing this. So, Snazzy, I think you're actually really good at this. You're a little.
Thank you.
I would rather you agree with that so you could tell us what you think you're doing well. Pickles, you tell us.
about
You tell us about Snazzy. Yeah.
Like it's self-gauge, right?
Yeah.
Snazzy's stream is a very comfortable stream to be in because Snazzy in general is just like a very warm and inviting presence, right? And sure, we like the new people that come in are clicking on it to see the game that he's playing, but they stick around because it's like hanging out with a friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like we're sitting on the couch, virtually sitting on the couch watching someone play games. But like Snazzy never like really, like I said earlier, he doesn't talk during cutscenes unless something in the game he's reacting to, right? Like if a cutscene starts playing, he doesn't start talking about what he's gonna like go get for dinner and this and that or whatever. He saves the dinner talk for after the cutscene.
Listen, one time I saw somebody. I forget which game it was. I think it was Bloodborne, and they were like talking / texting through like I think it might have been Maria. It's like opening cutscene, and then like in the fights, I was I'm fighting a lady. I'm like, dude, what the? You just missed like one of the best points in all of Bloodborne, dude, because you were sitting there like texting and whatever. It's like I tried that. I think I am mortified if I ever did that. If I ever presented that experience to anybody, I would have to like just like retire my streaming career on the spot and be like, well, we had a good run. See you all later.
Yeah, because the value a lot of these games bring is the community loves the game, and they love these moments. It's nostalgic and awesome, and it's like having the awesome fight scene from the anime that you love or something, and you're all just kind of like, yay, it's that moment. And if you the streamer are tuned out, people are going to tune out of your stream.
You know what it is? It's like showing somebody one of your favorite artists or one of your favorite songs, and they just like don't pay attention most of the way through.
Yeah.
And you just sit there like a combination of like angry and disappointed.
Yeah. And you're like, you're not even listening, or
You're not even listening to the song I'm trying to
yeah.
hoist on you.
Yeah. It can be a thing for sure.
Side note, never give me the aux cable. Like, you don't, that's a recipe for disaster.
So I think one of the ways that you can actually kind of tell if you care enough about the show side of your stream is how you react to the disruptions, to the flow of that. Because I feel like the just being live disruptions don't do anything. It's just like normal, just to have disruptions. But if like you're having a show and somebody is purposefully trying to disrupt the flow of that, you feel it. It hurts differently. It hits differently, and it can be actually a challenge for if you really care about what you're doing, to deal with those people that come in and like are that kind of disruptiveness to that energy. Have you guys had people that you felt like were being disruptive in your stream?
Oh boy. Where do I start?
Junkyard.
So I have like, I guess the best way to say this is, I'm glad I'm the streamer, because oftentimes I get stuck on threads and conversation with people I'm hanging out with in person. I'm the person who drags it a little too long, and so it's useful for me to like, just not talk a whole lot and listen, and then chime in occasionally. Because I will still like, I will go back to like points like at the beginning of this and continue talking on those threads. But as far as chat is concerned, this is like a can of worms right here. Like this one point of like sticking someone making a point and not letting it go. And then depending on what that point is, like, do mods need to get looped in? Do you need to like basically ignore it and continue on with the conversation the rest of chat is having, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
It's that thing like where if somebody's, being disruptive and trolling you, let's say hypothetically you're playing Dark Souls and somebody comes in with the, oh, do this, the backseating, the get good, that you've heard 6 million times. If you then stop to yell at that person for like 15 minutes, you've given them what they want. You've lost that fight already, right? So it's like
I've seen this go both ways with trolls and even friends. I actually remember a time when early on when Jared was streaming, that's one of his friends, real life friends, just kept dropping like small bit amounts, like forever, and with giant text to speech, just like, and it was like by the 12th time you were like, okay, this is just like the whole stream is now about this dude giving like bits, and I remember having to message and be like, hey, you should probably tell your friends to like cool it a little bit with that, because like you're not going to be as tolerant of that if you don't know the person.
maybe don't.
It's nice to see support, but like now like a half an hour of the stream is just these like trolly bit, voice to text alerts that it's not like, this is not really enjoyable. I'm not enjoying it. So I definitely new people are coming in and are just being confused.
I think on a side note though, because me and Pickles are both mods over at Jared's channel. I can tell you the most dangerous trolls in Jared's channel are the mods.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is it can
horrible.
it can go either way. And it's a good idea to make sure that even the people that are there to kind of support you aren't disrupting the flow of what you're trying to create for new viewers and grow your stream around. Go ahead.
Like you were saying, yeah, go ahead.
But it can be very funny.
Yes.
I was actually just about to say disruptions can be useful. You could use those to further the show.
True.
It's just
sure.
you have to know how, like, don't bite off more than you can chew, I guess, in a way is a good way to phrase it. Like, it's a delicate art of, I'm going to make the show about this disruption and we're all going to laugh at it and have fun, versus I'm going to fixate on this and everyone's going to think I'm weird. right? That's the
Yeah.
that's the two extremes, right? Like you gotta thread the needle, as it were.
And there are
Yeah.
tools to help like keep these things under control, like cooldowns.
Yep. Yep.
On things so that people can't just spam certain things. So, you know, a
Yeah,
lot.
limits on bits and text to speech, like the lower limit on when voice is triggered and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, if somebody's dropping like $100 in for every 30 seconds for an hour, then that's different. You know, at that
I mean,
point,
you're paying me at that point.
Yeah,
It's your
yeah,
time.
yeah. But you know, if it's these small, you know, 10 cent and $1, just like, you know, they can give you $20 over a half an hour and take over the entire stream. That can be a little bit of a thing, and I think being able to handle these things properly is a part of being a good streamer, because I definitely didn't handle them well at times. I would have people, I remember one time I was streaming like Mario Odyssey, and there was this two people in my chat that were, for whatever reason, having political conversation and fighting and arguing over like these really just like had nothing to do with anything, and nothing I brought up, and they're just like going back and forth, and the entire chat is just these two people arguing over politics.
Nintendo has that effect on people. It's true. Mario's a very polarizing character.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you guys, you have to stop. Like, please stop. No one else. People are coming in and saying hello, and then it's in between you two arguing.
At that point, like, you need to take that offline or something,
Yeah.
or in a Discord or something. It's like,
this
is not the place.
I don't know how many times I've had to tell people that Twitch chat is like a bad mechanism for discussion and arguments. It's a small text blurb. Even if you could write like giant paragraphs, who's going to read that? Right? Like, it's not a good medium for discussion. And
It's even worse than Twitter, and that's saying something.
yeah, and it's bad because if the streamer gets involved, the streamer has a microphone. Now it's really disjointed. Where like, dude with a keyboard warrior versus dude with microphone is not the same thing. We can't see how you feel when you're typing. We have to assume. It's just bad. It's just so bad.
And also, the dude with the microphone can erase your messages.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
that
like-
too. Yeah.
I mean, I've often had to do that where, like, you know, with the part of the show that comes in, when you do have to finally maybe check a disruption is, right? At the end of the day, you know, I think I've actually said this to somebody said this to someone at one point. It was like, this is my stream, right? This is my show.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you don't necessarily like what you're seeing, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem, because everyone else is enjoying what's being presented, right?
Mm.
So, like, like I said, to me, like, no matter how, unless you're like really just like, you know, camera pointed at a TV Fortnite kind of broadcast, there's always at least some level of production involved.
I mean,
if
even
you
setting
are
up your
sitting
camera
there-
and pointing it at the TV is some level of production.
I know, that's a threshold that you can ignore, basically, right? That's, you know.
Yeah. So
Snazzy, have you been watching my old YouTube content? What's the deal?
That's actually, it's a running joke here that if we, I'm actually going to do a Fortnite stream. Actually, I'm due one.
no,
where
don't
I am
spoil it.
actually just-
Oh, don't spoil it.
I'm just going to, well, really, I've already spoiled it before. Everyone knows this.
Right, fine. Yeah.
No, I'm just going to point my camera at the screen, and all you're going to see is like my screen playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
Because that's the joke is I don't like Fortnite. There's no reason to play Fortnite other than to make it a joke, right? But like, that's not just me sitting there playing Fortnite. That's me producing me sitting there playing Fortnite, right?
Yeah, it's the joke is doing it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about the aspects of your stream that feel like are the most show-like. I think just being live is obvious, so it would be good for us to kind of point out what parts of our streams felt and feel the most produced, where the production is. So let's start with Pickles.
Yes.
Tell us about. I already know some very obvious ones, so I think you do too.
I mean, show-wise, so like on a broader sense, because I have a noon stream and an evening stream. The evening stream is basically Cats, my wife's. And we have different things going on thematically. Her username is Earthbound Isle, so we kind of made everything island related, right? So she has a different starting soon, a different BRB, and it's all like island themed. So I have like two different things going on thematically. But in terms of like while the stream is actually going, I use DeepBot to have all sorts of little fancy things pop up when people say certain trigger words, and I have very specific bit alerts to make things happen. I don't know. I
Channel point redemptions.
I have channel point redemptions. Yeah, I have one that turns me into a talking GameCube. So there's that.
Can
I
we
try to-
redeem that on the podcast?
I don't have it set up on this scene collection, but yeah, I try to do a lot of different like meme things that people can interact with that kind of make the stream a combined like show between the people watching and me. Like it's a controlled interactive stream in a sense.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Is where the show is like opportunity for the audience to do fun stuff with you and kind of like take over the stream for a moment. Snazzy, what are your show elements?
The answer might surprise you. For me, honestly, the show elements for me, believe it or not, or at least the things I feel like that I work on the most during a stream is actually my reaction to the game. Because when I'm playing a game by myself, spoilers, it's not like that. I don't talk. I usually don't even think too deeply about what I'm seeing. I just kind of wait till I'm done with it and then sit down and think about it. Whereas on stream, I'll actively try to like sort through things while they're happening, right? And part of that is because I have, a phobia of awkward silences and I have to keep talking. But the other part of it is like that's the show that I choose to put on, right? That's the way that I interact with my chat, is being analytical, is looking at a game and noticing game elements that maybe I wouldn't notice if I was just sitting there with a video game unfold in front of me, right? So I feel like those are the things that I work on the most, even though that's not what you see on stream, right? On stream, what you see a lot of the effort, and Sonny, you know better than anyone. All the stuff that goes on, all the things that pop off when you say certain words, like Ty said, when you certain bit alerts that play off. When somebody subs, there's like 3 different sub notifications. Like that's the stuff that's visible and that looks like I'm putting a lot of effort into. But a lot of that really is secondary to just how I approach the video game versus how I would just play if I was by myself.
I actually have an element here that I wanted to bring up that I didn't think you would think about.
Oh.
But you're actually where my headphone just cut out. That's so annoying. The place where I think a lot of your show actually comes from is off stream, because you do a lot of thinking about what can I stream next that will be that
Fair.
people will watch. So like there's a lot of preemptive decision making, and you're very mindful about, okay, I'm going to stream challenge run, Dark Souls challenge run. Like people aren't there to watch you be a speed runner and watch you do challenge runs. But you know that people will watch that even though you're not some pro challenge run, speed run guy.
That's exactly why they'll watch, is because
You're not
somebody who will get it on the first try. And
it's like the same reason somebody who says I don't like horror. You should stream horror games. Actually, people want to watch that.
if you scare easily, horror games are a gold mine.
Yeah, people want to watch that. So there's value in that being part of your show. I don't like this. I don't want to play this. Like that's what people want to watch.
But at the same time, though, you do have to be careful if it is really something that is like such a turn off to you that you like.
Right, if it gives you like heart palpitations, if
yeah.
it gives you like health conditions, that's different. That's different. But if you just like have a, sensitivity in your reactions. That's what people
You just
want to
don't
watch.
just don't like
Yeah.
jump scares, maybe,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So if a light passing by in a hallway scares you, then yeah, maybe but it's you're healthy, it's fine. So I was gonna say, so the snazzies, you're very mindful of like the elements of your stream that are gonna have an impact before you're even live.
That's fair. I'll accept that.
So you make a list of like the Fortnite thing is well thought out. Like in order to make the Fortnite stream thing something people even want to take part in, is you kind of have to make it a joke and meme it up. Um, so you have some preparation to what the stream is. You're not just hitting go live. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do this challenge run. And or I'm gonna play this game on super hard and make my life terrible. Whatever it is, there's some more thought to it than just I'm live. So
That merchant from Resident Evil 4, like the trench coat, but instead of weapons, it's just memes. Like that's
there you go.
Memes are the best weapons.
So let's go to Junkyard and you tell us what are your show elements.
I mean, I can give very specific examples, and I planted the seed at the beginning of stream of the 75-hour stream.
I'm still impressed by that, like a lot.
So, the short version of it is, I was really into Rock Band at the time, and I convinced my roommate to do a Rock Band marathon. And had I put into more thought and all this stuff, I could probably, really built up a following and whatnot. But we decided to do a marathon where we played all of the Rock Band songs that were available for the games at that point in time, back to back. And it was over 500 songs whenever we had scheduled to do the thing, to do the marathon.
Wait, you were playing which instrument?
I was playing drums, and he was playing the guitar part.
Okay, so the guitar is a little less energy inducing than
Yeah.
and
So the from a stream standpoint, like, we did everything wrong. But from a lot of the surrounding things, like, we did a lot of things right. We had told people who were on Rock Band forums about it, and this was back in 2009, if I remember correctly, 2008, 2009. And we called it 500 Songs to Freedom. So we had a theme to that stream, and every time we completed a song, we posted to a Twitter account. And we had, from the stream standpoint, like, we had us as the main thing and the game tiny in the corner. But we ended up, like, going on the news. We had like nearly 300 people watching us, and we were live for 75 hours straight. And
Impressive.
so, like, I like ended up hallucinating at a couple of points.
I bet, dude.
Like, energy drinks, like, we were young, our bodies could handle it. These days, I like swear everybody off from doing, like, longer streams.
Yeah.
But it was my first stream, and I was like, where do I go from this? But also, this is like the only thing we like planned to stream. But whenever I decided to actually stream on a consistent basis on Twitch, I had like no clue what I was doing. And I got into Dark Souls challenge runs because I saw other people doing that, and I really enjoyed playing the Dark Souls games. And then I got into the more show aspects of, we're trying to get the runs, we're trying to practice this boss, we're trying to do a lot of analysis, and like memes pop up. Like, at the end of every run, I was pulling up a spreadsheet and saying, this is how many hits we took to this boss, this boss, this boss. Here's the averages. Here's the specific section we need to practice. This specific enemy has ruined like 3 runs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there was like, digging deep into that part of it. Whereas like times I've gone live and said, I've no clue what we're doing. We might play games, we might just have conversations or whatever. But like, I just wanted to spend time on Twitch live because I knew people would show up, and I was bored on a Friday night. That kind of thing. So there's a wide range of different aspects of planned live events and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think you would have been able to do that at all? Like, because I've done that a couple times where I've literally gone on camera with no idea what the game was going to be, and I kind of let chat decide. But I feel like there's no way I could have pulled that off until I had a base to work with, right? A community of at least a couple people there who would show up, right? Because if you don't have anybody watching you, if you go on and then try to feel out what the stream's going to be that night, you might be there for a while. I feel like.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know, do you think your like 75-hour first stream kind of set the pace for everything else going forward? Because once you've done 75 hours, right, where do you go? Like you said, where do you go from there?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because like that we came into like I was extremely into Rock Band at that time. I was watching people who were posting videos on YouTube and had very nice setups, but like this was before 2010, and so streaming was like just like this very nascent thing, and it set the tone from the standpoint of, if I'm going to stream, I want to have a stream with intention, because like I thought it'd be fun to do the marathon first and then stream on top of it, if that makes sense. So I had decided what what I wanted to do, and then figured out how to share that thing I was doing. And whenever I started streaming in 2017, I was in between jobs, and I was like, I was actually streaming on Twitch with the intent to cut that content into like YouTube content. And so I was doing like Elder Scrolls. Actually Elder Scrolls Skyrim playthrough, playing through, Skate 3, playing through Dark Souls, Doom, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was I'm going to do like Let's Play content, and I'm going to be kind of dual purposing, trying to bootstrap the community and have people watch, because I was focusing on YouTube first, and Twitch was like, I'm going to be recording this anyway, so why not stream on Twitch and try to get people onto YouTube? And so like from the time I first started like streaming on Twitch, that was kind of the intention, the direction I was heading.
That's funny. That's like the opposite of what everybody thinks today. Like stream on, make YouTube videos to get viewers on Twitch. You were going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Trailblazing.
So one of the things for me that I felt like, and this is a place where a lot of streamers are either really strong or really weak, which this will kind of be a place for us to segue into the next little topic. Alerts. There's like, from what I've seen, streamers either phone in the alerts. They literally just like grab the default alerts and literally do nothing. Like it's just like the amount of times I see that stupid running zombie, like the Streamlabs. If I go to someone's stream and you have the base alerts, you didn't even change the font, you didn't adjust the colors. Like this would take 15 minutes. This isn't a long effort, You just put it on there, you hit the test button, and you saw an alert, and you were like, "That's fine, it looks good," and then it's like too small, or it's too big, or
or there's like 2 or 3 that are overlapped over each other.
yeah. There's a lot of room in the for the show to exist in these. They're like community elements. Like your follow alert can be a part of like a fun aspect of what you're doing, and so these are the things that if you adjust those, you're allowing a little bit more of the show to shine through. Like you don't have the default alerts. You've got like a fun GIF at least, and maybe the text is a little bit changed. I think alerts is a good place. I think that's a place most streamers should start, at least, is upgrade your alerts. Make your alerts look better. Don't use the basic default alerts. Um, Upgrade one. If you feel like you don't have time, do one a week. Just change one a week. Put a different GIF in there. If you're using the default alerts, you're really when you're leaving people kind of. There has to be a much bigger reason for them to get involved with what you're doing in your stream and your community, and it also shows that you have a lack of like interest in being different. You just kind of don't care. It's like when you go to a stream and they have no panels, no information. It's just blank. It says there's nothing here or whatever. You need to put a little bit more. I would say most streamers need to put a lot more effort in than that. So you're doing yourself a little bit of a disservice. So even if you just want to be live, you just want to turn your stream on, you just want to hang out, you should have it not the default alerts. It would be better to have no alerts, to be honest, than to have the default alerts at this point. So that's my little thing there. Go ahead. Do you have something?
Or everybody has customized their alerts, and so the default alerts are different. But no,
We get that
to
point.
your, yeah. To your point though, Sonny, I would encourage people to take a step back whenever they're creating their alerts and just interactables, and say, how can I capitalize on the content I'm trying to produce, and at the same time embrace what the viewers that have been in my community have latched onto, and kind of build that up. And so, like, I have not been in Snazzy's stream nearly as much as I should be, but like I like to use Jared as like a specific example of like the little, like whenever you type beard in chat and the beard pops up and the mouth opens and that kind of stuff. Like that's taking something that like the viewers have latched onto and like building it up even further. And whenever I think about Dino Sangile, who is a Dark Souls no-hit streamer, things like jokes that people have made, like viewers have made, he rotates those in and like bakes them in. Like if I made a joke, I was trying to learn German at the time, and Dino Sangile is German, and so there is a Dark Souls 1 boss, Bed of Chaos, and because I knew I was trying to learn German, I said Chaos in Bett, which is chaos in bed in German. And they were trying to correct me, and I was just like, no, I know what I said. And so they latched onto that, and it became, whenever he was showing like the bosses, like where he was at, like his progression in a no-hit run, he had changed that to Chaos in Bed as like a kind of a hat tip of sorts. And so like those types of things, like whenever you're thinking about the alerts, like what has your community latched onto? What do they like about your stream? How can you do it in a way where it's a fun piece of engagement, but it's not gonna be tiring?
Yeah.
My recommendation, and this is, I've said this multiple times on stream, it's like the alerts exist partially, yes, to thank and acknowledge whoever's doing something, right? Somebody followed, somebody subscribed, somebody donated, somebody whatever. That, half the alert is there for you to acknowledge you. The other half is because I find it amusing, right? I personally find those memes amusing, right? So I think a good place to start, if you don't know, if you don't know kind of like what your stream is going to be and what your alerts are going to be, start off with things that entertain you. Throw them in there, like Chunky said, just bake them in there somewhere and see what the reaction is. And if people like it, keep it. If they don't, cycle something new in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good place for you to kind of share your own sense of humor and the things that you like. But there's a risk with this whole element as well. So the other side of the coin is people will put thousands of hours in work, and they'll hire crazy artists. They'll go to Fiverr and spend $1,000 on an alert package that's all customized and fancy. They get these crazy stingers, and they... as somebody who makes this stuff, I wouldn't. I think like, I hate when I see somebody overpay and they have like this crazy stinger transition and these BRB screens and it's all super fancy and crazy and no one's watching. Because people aren't really there because of your fancy paid for graphics. That's not why they're there. If anything, you need an artist that's going to like look at you and look at what you're doing and try to make like an aesthetic with you that's just fits with what's going on so that you shine. It's very easy for somebody who just like has, let's say they have like monster in the name or something, they in their username, and then they've got monsters all over everything and their alerts are all monsters, everything's monsters, and you feel like you've got all this production, you got this monster raid response video, and whenever someone new chats and monsters are there, and it's just like so much production has gone into what you're doing that it's taking over the actual stream itself. There's not a chance for community to form and for these jokes and these connections to form because you're done. You've finished your stream. Your stream is like this television show that you produced. And that's not the value a stream provides, is that the community gets to kind of help shape it. It's almost better for you to not be done with your stream. It's almost better to be a little bit janky, a little like to have some rough edges so that people can inspire you to put the joke where there's an empty spot. And if you just turn your stream on and you're done, it's overproduced. You've overproduced your stream. And I think a lot of streamers feel like they can't go live until they have everything. They got the stingers. They've got that. They've got this. They've got everything's there. Everything's in place, and it's so overblown that it's who's even watching it? Who's a part of this?
It's like to kind of carry on your point there. I've definitely seen. I'm not gonna name names, but I've definitely seen a person who. There's a danger that I think a lot of new streamers kind of run into where like you have an idea in your head, right? You have an idea for what you want your stream to be, which is like almost like what's the expression? Like the most dangerous fool is the educated fool. So like they're the ones who kind of like researched it maybe a little too much, and they have like a really solid idea in their head of what they want their stream and the community to be, and they'll go live and they have everything. Everything is like theme. Everything goes together. Like they have a very specific theme. Let's just say like your example, monster, right? They have a theme that's just built around that one thing that they like, and and what, a year later they're still at 2 viewers.
Yeah.
Because nobody's engaging with that theme, but
Yeah.
they've put so much effort into it that they like almost kind of like don't want to move away from it because like, oh well, you spent all this time and money trying to. What is the sunk cost fallacy? Like you
Yeah.
spent so much time and money and energy into this, and you're getting nothing back from it. But then they just kind of freeze up and just keep going, and
And
it's the strangest thing to watch.
yeah,
Let me tell you.
it's more. I think there's actually a value in evolving your streams, alerts, overlays, interactivity with your viewers. That you don't want to be done. You never really want to be done as a streamer because somebody's going to come in and you're all going to have this moment that's funny and like inspires you to make a new channel point redemption or a new alert and like make it about that moment, that joke. And that needs to continue. That needs to happen. It's better to the viewers in some way want. I mean, I'm not saying you should use a really bad microphone and a really bad camera, but those things are like basic, right? You want to get a good camera and you want to have good audio, but the rest of it needs to be kind of a relationship. You want people to come in and they find something humorous about you, and that thing that they find humorous about you inspires you to make your alerts a certain way or do things a certain way, and then your community becomes more attached. Your viewers become more attached because you're kind of co-creating with your audience what your stream is. You need room for that. And if you're just done, like the alerts are just done forever, and your starting soon screens is just like what it is forever, you're just expecting people to buy in. And they're really no one is there for that stuff. Nobody cares about how good your stingers are. Really, like, you don't need a good stinger. It's better to make a funny thing that people can latch onto from your community and relate to and be like, ha, like, I get the joke. There's value in that. So you have to leave kind of those spaces open and not overproduce your stream. And like, I know that Ty really badly wants to talk about raid response videos. Tyleen Pickles, like, there is such a danger here in the overproduction of your stream, even when you've got you haven't overdialed everything in. You can feel like you're putting on a show, but are people gonna like that show? So one good example of this is raid response videos. No offense to anybody who has a raid response video, but I think generally, I don't know how Junkyard's gonna feel, but I'm pretty sure Snazzy and Pickles are both going to have like a not so positive response to the general. So Pickles, tell us how you feel about the raid response videos and why. Putting you on the spot.
Nothing will make me click off of a stream faster than a raid response video. Like, if we raid into it, I'm just gonna immediately leave if I see one of those, because it says a lot of things to me. And one of those things is that you're insecure with what you're doing on stream, so that you take a clip of highlights of the best of to show that instead. And I don't know. That should be like, that idea on its own isn't a bad idea. It just shouldn't be a raid response video. Like, use that as like a BRB screen. Like, that's the kind of thing that'll keep somebody around. But like, if I click onto your stream and the first thing I see is you leaving to show me a bunch of your clips, I'm not gonna stick around for that. Like, that's not engaging.
It's like producing yourself into a corner, so like you don't have to do anything while you're live.
Yeah. Then like,
it's a cop out. Is that how you feel? Like, people are not?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a cop out. And then like, if you get a raid and you show the raid response, and then you're done and you're back and you're ready to go, and then you get another raid and then you have to do the whole thing again. Like, it also takes a ton of time. And I've seen it happen, and it's just, I don't think it puts on like a very, very engaging show. I don't.
Oh, we got another raid. Oh, okay, let's do it again. Like, yeah. And
I've talked about this before too, but just because of my time slot, I often, towards the end of the evening, it'll happen where there'll be 3 or 4 raids back to back. Usually when I'm talking about something inappropriate, and there's another raid, and they have to explain to those people like, this is what we're doing here. And if I had a video that I had to play every time that happened, we'd be there for like 3 hours.
There's something about this too with like really long alerts. You don't want like alerts that take like 5 minutes to play out or something. Like,
unless it's a really funny joke, right? Because you could
like $100 tip alert, something that costs a lot of money or something.
Yeah, it has to cost a lot of money for it to take up more amount of time. That's rule of thumb there.
Yeah,
or higher bits or whatever,
Snazzy, you tell us, what's your take on the whole?
This might be the lukewarmest take on ever like witnessed, but my take is that it's. I'm going to phrase this very delicately because we have friends who use raid response videos. No offense to anybody who actually uses them. If that's what you're comfortable with, if that's what's doing it for you, if you are seeing people stick around and you're seeing growth, even despite those videos, fine, use them. To me, it's just like it's one of those things where like people will raid into you, click on you, right, for whatever reason, right? That doesn't matter. Maybe it's someone and they know you, and they're like, oh, this is a safe place to drop the person off. Or maybe they're raiding a random person. They look through the directory and they see your face and you're like, oh, this looks like a cool person to raid. I feel like when most people come to raid you, it's to interact with you and not like a cardboard cutout of you that you're holding up, like while you move from side to side, like streaming in general, like Twitch rather, as compared to things like YouTube, the interaction with the streamer, at least in smaller streams, is the pull, right? People aren't there. There's some people who are there for the video game, absolutely. But most people are there to see you play the video game. So if your first thing when people come in is like, oh, let me just excuse myself for 5 minutes and get a drink while you watch this highlight of, yeah, which those clips don't have anything to do necessarily with what's going on either, right? Because they're
Yeah.
clips of previous things that have happened. And unless you do a raid video really, really well, it just seems disjointed and out of place a lot of the time. Because it just cuts back and forth to different games, different things that are going on. The jokes like don't make sense because you don't have the context for the before or the after. Like, I don't know. It's the chances of getting a raid video just right versus getting it very wrong. I feel like are very lopsided. You're gonna produce this thing that's weird and feels out of place, and it just feels like you don't want to necessarily interact with the raid, and you're just like, oh, here, babysit the raid for me while I prepare what I'm going to say next.
Yeah.
That's my hot take, right? My lukewarm take.
Okay, OG Junkyard, how do you have any feelings about these things on Twitch? Either way is fine.
Yeah.
So there is one streamer who I think has a decent raid response video, and that particular streamer, I'm not gonna say the name, but that particular streamer, I have seen their raid response video so many times, and their response to a raid is like a canned thing that they say like every single time they get a raid, it's the exact same thing, and they've gotten so fast at it. It's like as a viewer that has spent a lot of time in that channel, like it's like I've driven down that highway so many times, so I lose consciousness for like a minute until it's done.
Yeah, you like go on autopilot as the viewer.
Yeah, and like that person revamped their raid responsive video probably a year after I had been first introduced to them, but it's been that way for like another year, and so it's like, okay, I've gotten used to this one, and like I understand what they're trying to get at, but whenever you sit through a minute or 2 minute long raid response video, and this is a person who gets it's not uncommon for them to get 10 raids a night. That is 10 to 20 minutes of content that they could have just done, and they could have cut that, like, thank you for the raid and all that stuff, down to 10-15 seconds tops. But the vast majority of people I have seen, to Hylian's point and to Snazzy's point, that content a lot of times probably would be better served as a BRB type content, or you take the clips and that kind of stuff and put it onto other platforms and introduce more people to your content.
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
My biggest concern with this whole thing is that the raid response is the most obvious of overproduction area, where it's a live stream. The value is that you're live. You put up a BRB screen because you can't be live, so it makes sense to put those clips and stuff on the BRB screen because you're not there. You're in the bathroom. Okay, that makes sense. But you're there, and you're putting up this video and not being there anymore. You're no longer live. It's totally misplaced, it's like, one of the other things is I feel like a lot of people can overdo this same mistake in other areas in their stream. When people follow, if you have a follow response that isn't supernatural and it's somewhat scripted, if you have these scripted sections of your stream, that stuff is just totally, it's off-putting to me as a viewer to hear you be like not live, not like a live person. So this is where it's like just being live has some value because you're a live person. We want to see your more natural response. If every time someone hits the host button, and you got like some alert says thanks for the host, and you say like, you know, oh, happy drinking time, you know, like every single time someone hits the button, and you know, the 100th time you're like, oh, happy drinking time, you know, like you rush through it, like you're saying, Junkyard, like you know, the streamer's phoning it in at that point. It's like you just have to. This, that's not a good show. When you
No, it's a gimmick for the sake of doing a gimmick, and then when it ends up that way, it feels hollow. Like people feel the insincerity of it, like very easily.
So on the topic of like phoning it in, there is one streamer that I watch, and I feel like they've got a stick whenever they play marbles on stream, and it's kind of like a sing-songy thing, and I'm like, you can tell that they are kind of phoning it in. But whenever I have asked that person, you need to turn this bit of audio into a clip and just hit it on your stream deck, I'm like, I think that'd be funny. They like refuse to do it. And I think when I brought that idea up to them, the fact that they refuse to do it makes it like even funnier to me. You know, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And so you've got to, like, if you're going to like phone it in, it's got to be done in like a clever way.
Yes, I agree.
At the same time.
Yeah, there's actually a way to make it kind of funny if you have a reoccurring theme. Like I told somebody this, I said, it's okay for you to have this presentation you want to do on your stream, but you need to overproduce it on purpose. It needs to be like this, like over. It can't just be like you push the button, change the scene, and like you're doing a skit, and then you do that skit every time. It just keeps happening. It just keeps happening, and you're just rushing through it. You're just like trying to get through the moment. Like what you should do is like overdo it, and I even advised them to like make it somewhat live and somewhat a produced video, like still be there on camera and like have fun going through it, whatever, each time. Make it a little bit different each time. This is a hard concept, I think, to really nail down. I feel like scripting, there's a difference between the show aspect of your live stream and scripting things so that that's not really the show. The show is the performance. And you can have a script that you perform badly. And so like there's a really bad way to do the show. And you don't want to have these like redundant, repetitive things. The alerts are already pretty redundant on most channels. It's the same follow alert. There's literally no variation whatsoever. There's a lot of room there for streamers to improve, where you can definitely make variations of your alerts so that if you get a follow train, it's not the same thing over and 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 over. You can have variation going on.
I feel like I bring this up like at least once a podcast, I feel like, but like I have to give credit. Like one of the best things I've ever seen anyone do is Kuma. Is like somebody will follow me and be like, "Oh, welcome to Costco. I love you." And it's like it's this short thing, silly, and he says it in like the most deadpan voice imaginable. The delivery is what sells it, right?
Right.
But like, there's no overproduced thing. It's just welcome to Costco.
Yeah. There's good ways and bad ways to handle all of this stuff, so you just want to be careful with it. And if you're gonna say that, you may want to. If there's a follow train, you don't want to say it 100 times, probably. You know, you want to you want to wait for the alerts to go through and then say it with some comedic timing. So
On the topic of like alerts with variations, I have one bit alert that has 71 variations. So there's gonna be some things that never show up.
talk about overproduction.
I just had to check how many it was, but yeah, it's a lot.
A lot.
So this, I like, this is a gold mine actually. And I think the fact that you brought up the fact that there's 71 of these makes me want to figure out what that bit alert is and then just hammer it until I feel like I've seen all of them. But the kind of an example of this is if you've been on Twitch long enough or you've worked at Twitch, like in my case, you are aware of the Golden Kappa.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Golden Kappa is a thing. It's like somebody will type Kappa and you will see it being a gold color, not the grayscale, um, and it's incredibly rare. But every once in a while, you'll see it, and you'll be like, it's not a joke. Um,
It exists.
it exists, and I have seen it kind of in the wild, like just occurring on some stream I was in one time. But and you know, I learned about, like, whenever I was at Twitch, I thought it was like a farce. I thought it was like an in joke that they only told employees, and then it happened. Uh, but to the point on the stream, like, if you have things like 71 different variations of a specific bit alert, so it means like no one will ever, see all of them. It's almost like you're setting intrigue and mystery into your stream. And telling people, like, I have a mystery channel, like channel point redemption. Like, there was one time I put one up, and then people could not let it go. They latch onto these things.
Yeah.
And they want to know. They want to be a part of that. They want to figure out the little Easter eggs you've planted for them.
I used to have a puzzle on my stream where, like, certain words would trigger, like, a bot to start a puzzle, and they had to figure out the answers to the questions the bot was asking and to continue the puzzle. Like, there's some value in doing things like that, for sure. So you have to find a good balance. Just, don't use the default alerts, and don't pre-script your stream to the point where it's just, you're done with it. You know what you're going to say every time something happens. People like to see, like, you having fun and being more natural. So there is a balance between the show itself and the being live. You don't want to be so live that there's no thought whatsoever in anything that's going on, and it's just like, whatever, I'm live. And then you don't want to go so far. These are like the extremes. You don't want to lean so far into the show that you're no longer really live. You're just putting up raid response videos or reading a script. Go make YouTube videos if you want to do that kind of stuff. That's the place for that. So let's do our summary ending here, and I'm going to give you guys each a chance to just kind of give a last bit of advice to wrap things up here. What would you guys tell somebody who is new, or maybe even been streaming for a long time? If you could just say, focus on this first, what would it be? Go ahead, Snazzy. Let's start with you.
Wow, wasn't ready. I think the number one thing I would say to anybody, although this advice is more honed towards beginners, but also actually it does also kind of work for people who have established themselves for a while and maybe are have become a little bit static. Don't get married to an idea. Like, what's the phrase? No plan survives the field, or whatever. Like, no matter how good your battle plan is, right? It's not going to survive the encounter, right? It always, like, when you get into it, something's going to happen that's going to throw your plan off. Don't feel like you have to stick with a theme or with alerts or with any kind of production just because you've spent energy, time, or in some cases maybe even lots of money trying to get those done. If it's not working, call it what it is and move on. That's my advice.
I like
Don't get stuck on a thing.
All right, Pickles, what do you got for us?
Your stream is, to kind of piggyback off of Snazzy's point, your stream is alive, right? It's a live stream, but it's also like a living production. Like, there should always be stuff that is being added to it, taken out of it. It's growing and changing as much as you or anybody else, and it'll take on its own identity as it continues to develop. So you should never be afraid to make changes or even, like, shift the whole format on its head just to make it feel better. Watch watch your own VODs, no matter how uncomfortable it might make you, because that's probably good that it makes you uncomfortable, so you can watch it change stuff to a point where you're like not uncomfortable anymore, and then people will probably be less uncomfortable watching you as well.
That's really good advice. Yeah. Okay, OG Junkyard, just bring us home.
All right. So I would encourage a streamer or whoever's listening to this really to ask yourself with your content, both on stream and like on surrounding platforms, are you telling a story? Are you answering a question? Are you taking people on a journey? You know, are you looking at ways to give them something other than the run of the mill? And then at the same time, are you kind of incorporating their enthusiasm for what you've done back into that? And so that they have some ownership, so they have some investment into your content. And you're gonna have to figure out like what that looks like, of course, for your content. But just trying stuff out and saying, "Hey, I did this for you," or I thought you had a really funny bit, or I thought that clip was great, and we looped it back into the BRB thing, or we posted on Twitter, that kind of stuff. Thank you for being a part of the community. I think that's kind of how I would bring it home.
Cool. Thank you guys. That was very well thought out and some good answers. My last, I guess, summary statement would be have fun with what you're doing. If you're going to be putting on a show, there's got to be room for it to be fun. If you're going to be just live, maybe try to put on a little bit of a show with your alerts and have fun. People want to watch you have fun. There's a lot of streamers that just want to be ragey and crazy, and there's a lot of room to get frustrated when things don't work, especially if you put a lot of money, effort, and time into a show and nobody's watching. So at the end of the day, if you are whatever you're doing, try to find a balance between being live, because like Pickle said, it's a living thing. It's a live. The fact that it's called a live stream is very on point, that it is live, and it should be a growing thing with you, and have fun. The fun is usually where you find places to make your stream more lively, more alive.
More fun. Ironically.
Yeah. So fun is probably you can't force it, so you just got to make sure you're in the right space for you and your community and the people that are watching to have a good time. So that was a good show. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate you, OG Junkyard, coming in and filling in for Eat Your Mates tonight. Thank you, Pickles and Snazzy Bastard. I'm going to do the wrap up here. We've got a community. If you would like to join, go to infinitequality.live. You can check out these podcasts, the previous episodes, on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube. We've got regular YouTube videos coming out, tutorials. On Friday, I do a chatting stream where it's kind of like a podcast, but we just hang out with general IQ members, whoever's around, and we just talk about streaming. Sometimes we do channel reviews, things like that. If you guys are interested in any of this stuff, go to infinitequality.live. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like if that's what you want to do. And that's the show. Thank you guys for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next podcast next Wednesday. We do these live on Twitch at 4 p.m. Pacific. So, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks again. Say goodnight, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Hi, everybody.